I got a very good question for you today. Many people ask us, no matter our student or the audience, ask us about how to buy a gong, how to choose a gong. It's a very big question. So we take our time, try to reply the most frequent questions. How the beginner choose their first gong, especially first or second gongs? What's your advice?
Well, yeah, it is a very big subject, Yiling, as you say, and we're going to try and make it simple for you viewers, as simple as we can make it.
Yes, please.
So I think it's good to make a distinction. If you're somebody who's really new to the gongs, you haven't been to any training, you may have seen some videos on YouTube, you may even have been to some gong bars, seen lots of different types of gongs and got very confused about it. This first part of the video is for you.
Yes, so I'm listening.
My advice is you can spend an awful lot of money on gongs, and I would suggest that if you're really new to the gong, then consider just buying one gong to start with. There's a possibility, perhaps, if you're a bit more experienced and been to a training and so on, that would be different. Maybe you'd like to buy a couple of gongs. But I think to get your grounding, it's great to just buy one gong.
So, what's the criteria to choose the gong?
Well, if you're choosing a first gong and you're new to the gong, as I say, I think that actually narrows down, I would recommend, to quite a small number of choices.
Yes, choice one.
Well, I started off by saying, I think the first question you've got to answer is, what's your budget?
Oh yeah, how much money? How deep your pocket is?
Gongs are quite expensive, as you probably know. And so what we're talking about here, I think we're talking about a range of, say, anything between, so you want to look at anything between £500, let's talk about, or what does that equivalent in US dollars, say $600 US to upwards to say upwards to say 1,300 US dollars, roughly. That kind of now this is excluding, very important, this viewers,
VAT, shipping cost.
It's excluding VAT and shipping costs. Maybe not VAT. I think that include. I would think include VAT, but it would include. It would, or import tax, but it would not. It would exclude, especially you've got to think about stands and mallets, which are expensive. And that's another, that's those accessories. That's probably even another video. Maybe if we, but we're going to talk about the gongs at the moment because this is the confusing thing.
So we have the idea that the medium-sized gong, roughly, if we say that a general purpose, not a special gong. Roughly more than one, I think 1,200.
So we're talking about
much more.
What are we talking about when I'm recommending a first gong? It would be a medium-sized gong. What's a medium-sized gong? Between 28 and 32 inches in diameter. And this is how gongs are commonly advertised by, when you see a measurement on a gong, 28 inch this, 30 inch that, that it's the diameter across we're talking about. So 28 to 32 is actually what we call medium size, and they're relatively portable, but at the same time they're big enough for you to get quite a big deep resonance, which is what you want from what we would call a first general purpose sort of gong.
You're talking about budget. What if I don't have any problem with my budget, so I can buy the whole set, whole collection of the gongs?
Now, some of my in the early days of my gong playing career, I had some colleagues on trainings who were quite wealthy and were in a position and very enthusiastic, and they went out and bought the whole sweet shop. I want this, and this. And actually, I don't think that's a very good idea.
So
I
good
think
to
it
be
can be
rich.
very confusing. And I don't actually think it's good for your progress with the gongs, because it just makes things confusing.
Yeah, very confusing.
And
So,
you're not necessarily going to make the right choices if you do that early on.
Even you don't have any problem with the budget, we
Indeed.
still have advice suggests you that you choose maybe one gong to maybe start to complicate it.
Well, we'll move on to whether that's a good idea. I made this distinction between, I was talking initially to people who haven't been to a training, that are really new to the gongs, but would like a gong before they start getting involved in training and so on and so forth, which is what I did.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
a
think
good
it's
approach.
certainly a good thing to do, but don't spend... you don't need to spend enormous amounts of money to do that. In this range, $600 to $1,300, what are your choices? And as I said, the choices we can narrow them down to quite simple ones so that it's not confusing.
So medium size and also the budget is not too big, not too small. Why medium size? If I have limited budget, how about I buy a small gong?
It depends. Of course, the other thing that we're we're leaping ahead of is what's your interests? Where are you going to, how and where are you going to use your gongs? And we'll get further along, and we'll talk about that later. But in general, in general purposes, this is a good place to start. Medium size, as I say, because they have this. They're not too expensive. They're fairly portable, and they give you a fairly deep, wide ranging sound.
Yeah, because the smaller gong tend not to, so
what
wide
I wanted
range,
to do was I wanted to talk about specific types of gongs, because we can narrow our advice down to very few, actually. First one, at the upper end of the range, would be a symphonic gong, a 28, 30 or 32, what's called a symphonic gong. Now, these are very popular, and they're made by the major German gong manufacturers that we are going to talk in detail later, but the main ones are Pasty, Meinl. There are other smaller gong makers who make equivalent to the symphonic gongs. They may call them something different. Again, we might talk about those later, but let's just concentrate on those because that's a really good choice.
Medium size and the factory. Okay. So how about this is a pre-training, right?
Yes. So a symphonic gong, and why are they good? Because they're what would we call them? They're a general purpose gong. They have this lovely. If you get a good example, they vary in sounds and tones. Each gong is different. You can't, it's
very different.
Their craftsmen made these things. So although the German gongs are well known for having a consistent quality,
good quality,
I've actually been in this. I was shocked early on in my gong playing career when there were 3 symphonic gongs. Actually, there were bigger ones. I think there were 38 gongs, 38-inch gongs. So they were bigger gongs. All lined up in a row at a training, 1, 2, 3, and we played them each. And
same factory, the same size, but
and we and
the result,
they were different. I mean, they were recognizably the same kind of gong, but they did have, this is part of the sort
we can understand it's like a kid from the same family.
Absolutely.
Boy from the same family, but it's different characters. But each one is individual and good. And you couldn't say, oh, this boy is not as good.
And I have this, the other thing about, so that's my recommendation for if you've got a reasonable amount of money, it's a 32, 30 or 28-inch Pasty or Meinl symphonic gong, right? This business, that when we're talking about these sort of gongs, most of the time gong players don't get a chance to play the gong before they order it. So that normally, you know, if you're going, you know, classic, if I'm going out to buy a new shirt, then I can go to the store and try it on, and this is the wrong size, I don't like this color, I try this on. Most of the time, most of us aren't able to do this. There aren't these days Gong showrooms in some countries and in some places, but for most people where you can go and test and try gongs, but even then, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to say, I want that one.
No. So
not
what's
with
your
these.
point?
So the thing is that we have to engage in this thing that I call karmic commerce, where we go, I want a 32-inch symphonic gong, and you send away your orders from the supplier, and you wait for this gong to arrive, and you put it up, and you really hope it's going to be the one that you want, and it's the one that is for you. It is a karmic commerce, I think.
Yeah. So this is a video that is a 32 symphonic gong. Yeah, this is a very good one. Among many 32, this is a good one.
Yeah, beauty. If you don't have such a big budget and you're more, you know, sort of $600, $700 is different to $1,300 when you haven't got a great deal of money, then I've got a recommendation for you. And this is what I did, because I didn't have much money when I started out, and I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do with the gong. Some people are really sure about what they're going to do with their gong. They're going to use it in a therapy or in their yoga practice or whatever. But I didn't really know, and I bought a 28-inch Chinese wind gong.
Oh, that's a very good choice.
Now, there we are. Now, these are wonderful gongs for beginners. They're made, Chinese wind gongs, they're elemental kind of gong. They're airy, very good for meditation, very versatile. Again, that range, 28, 30, 32 will cost around $600-700 US. One thing to be mindful of them is that the way that the Chinese make their gongs, they have an inconsistent quality. You can get the best ones as good. Oh, are you going to put your hand in front of my face for the whole video?
Okay, that is the best, and the lowest. The quality is very big.
Best quality are as good a gong as you can get. The medium, you know, and some are very disappointing, and it's the inconsistent quality. So you do need a good supplier. And we again
that's the leather gong for us. Otherwise, if you shop online or you shop,
it can be a problem.
So we move on to
finally. We haven't yet broached the subject of what you're going to use your gongs for, but I would say, and this is my experience with some therapists who are only interested in buying one gong. They're not interested in buying a gong collection as they get more experience and more advanced. They just want one gong to help in their therapeutic practice. Then another kind of Chinese gong that's worth considering is a Chinese chow gong.
Oh yeah, chow gong.
Now, if you like, if the actually the Chinese name for the wind gong is the feng gong, isn't it? Feng gong. You should know that. Coming from your background. We in the West we call them wind gongs. Well, the chow gongs are kind of earth gongs. So the elemental thing is, and some therapists like them because they're very grounding.
Very earthy.
Same thing applies with the wind gongs. You can get fabulous versions of chow gongs. Others, inconsistent quality, and so you do have to be mindful of that.
Okay. So after training, finally. So people went to training. Normally, the training will be 10 or more than a bit more than 1,000 gongs. So people try many different gongs. After all, After all those, trying gong, then get more confusing.
Well, actually, I was just about to say that. I think that if you think it's confusing at the outset, viewers, before you've even done any training, and maybe you've been to a couple of gong bars, if you think it's confusing deciding what you might like to get, after you've been to a training, it's probably even more confusing because you've actually had a chance to play and to listen to a large number of gongs. Most trainings will have a number of gongs, a dozen even, or even more. Big trainings they have now, some people, and there are many, many gongs to try, and it can be confusing. That's for sure.
So
now, of course, the advantage of going to training is that you had a chance to play some gongs. You've had a chance to listen to them, and most especially, your listening is beginning to develop. You're beginning to get more acute listening, which is really, really important if you're trying to choose which gongs to buy.
People. I don't know in England, in Taiwan, people go to come training. They don't only how to hold the money, how to do the technique, but their ears maybe improve a bit. Shame.
Well, this is, as you know, Eileen, this is a bit of a soapbox for me.
So how they can choose if they still very confusing, lost in the universe.
The first one is a good.
The hearing not really can catch up with the big universe of God.
It's a good prompt to actually do some deep listening practice, and we incorporate this into our gong training these days because we think it's really important, and it actually holds people's development back, and it really will help in your choice of gongs. Of course, you've got a teacher who can advise you, who is running your training, who often will be the owner of many of the gongs that are available for you to train on. But be mindful, viewers, that even the best teachers have got their perspective is not yours. You're choosing the gong for you, and they may have their own kind of reasons for recommending this, that, or the other gong. And so it's not that you should disregard what they're saying and of course get their advice, but do be mindful of that.
Okay, so what's your conclusion after training? When people are very confusing,
after training,
to go back.
I think you probably have got a better idea of, this is the other thing I think about after training, is that you probably will have a little bit more, however confused you may be, you've got a little bit more confidence about the way that different gongs sound together. So if you're looking to buy one gong and only have one gong, then this next bit of this video is not for you. Most people, or many gong players, they want to build up at least a little gong collection of gongs, and I would recommend that because the beauty of the gongs is the way that they speak together. When you play two or more gongs together, the resulting sounds are more than the sum of their parts.
That's more difficult.
So
one gong is difficult to pick, and if you pick two or three.
So if you're been to a training and you've played various gongs and you've got used to this idea, wow, if I play this gong and this gong together, then they make this combination of sounds which I really find attractive, and so on. So it makes you start to think how the sounds come together and how you might go about choosing two gongs at the same time.
Okay, I have a last question before we leave. How about the second-hand gong?
The second-hand gong market has grown enormously over the last recent years, and you know why? Sadly, the reason why the second-hand gong market has grown so
demand
big,
and supply.
No, it's because you get students, and this is very sad in a way, you get students who've been to they've become interested in gongs, they've been to a training, they've got very enthused, and they've ordered a gong. And because there's been some hold up in the supply, it can take quite a long time for the gong to come through from the manufacturer these days. several months in occasions. Their enthusiasm wanes. They haven't got any gongs to play, and they lose interest. And so when the gong arrives, maybe it's not put. They don't.
Okay, so
that,
how can people choose the second-hand gong? More practical.
For a beginner,
we got another 30 seconds.
Rarely would I advise it. The only circumstances would I say if you got a chance to play a second-hand gong is if you know the person who owned it before and you got a chance to play it, because you're inheriting somebody else's energies from it. And I think for a beginner this can be potentially problematic. And exceptionally it can be good. And of course you maybe get it for a lower price, but I'm not so sure. I wouldn't generally recommend it.
Yeah, I always tell students, if you want to buy the second-hand gong, you got to go try to play and try yourself, because we saw too many cases that you say the karmic, the like people, the former owner have this gong, and the gong have the characters, like, so the second-hand gong buyer, they when they didn't know, they didn't try it, and they buy the second-hand gong. They were the gong already have their own, their own karma or own characters. So that's our advice. Try first if you really want to buy a second-hand gong.
This is for beginners. Beginner gong players. More advanced gong players have got more confidence and know what they're doing more when there are rare gongs that are decades old, which are real collector's items, and when you're more experienced you've got much more. They're going to be very expensive. You're much more confident about your abilities to be able to decide whether it's a good investment or not.
Yeah, if you have any questions or any experience, you can share down below, and we have the next video talk more details about how to choose, how to buy gong. We see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.